Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Jose, and today I want to talk about planning and the importance of planning. So when it comes to digital minimalism, you sometimes leave some of the digital things in life and you start focusing on more kind of like real world activities per se. And one of my hobbies is learning languages. Now, I don't want to showcase something that I don't do or something that is clickbaity. I know that I have watched many YouTube videos that say something like, I learned a language in 7 days, or I speak 12 languages, or I do these things, and whatever it is. Sometimes I feel like, when you showcase something like that, when you showcase how many languages you learn or how many languages quote unquote, I kind of can get a little bit frustrating for people that don't have the same ability that you do. Now, I do realize that there's a lot of polyglots on YouTube and that they desire to, share this knowledge that they have acquired. But for me, something that I appreciate or something that I focus on is when I do something, I try to do it well, or I try to learn it to the maximum of my ability. I don't just try to dabble into something, but I try to go as deep as possible in order to get to fluency. Because, honestly, I could say I speak German and French and Spanish and Portuguese and only know a couple of words. But I don't want that. I want to say, when I say I speak German or I speak French or I speak Arabic or whatever language I'm learning, I want to say that I can actually speak it, not just that I dabble. And if I dabble, I can just say, I know a couple words, I know a couple phrases. I can get by a week if I go to such and such a place. So today I want to share with you how I plan and how I make sure to stick out my plans. Now, this can be applied to any kind of skill or anything that you want to learn, but of course, I'm going to use the example of languages. The first thing I do is I make sure to gather all the information necessary. I'm going to put a lot of links in the description and the pinned comment, so make sure to check those out if you're trying to learn a language. The first thing that I do is in the research process is I go to different websites in order to know what's the best tools or what are the best tools that people use. First, you have to determine what kind of learner you are, if you're an auditory learner or if you're a text-based learner. I'm a text-based learner and I enjoy learning languages when it comes to actually from the grammar standpoint. So I bought myself a grammar. I went to a used bookstore and I got this for 75 cents. It's Castle's Contemporary German. On top of that, I also got this for about 50 cents, which is a very helpful method that I have used for learning languages called Cortina method, which is conversational German in 20 lessons. And this pretty much has a lot of vocabulary and rich text-based interactions that help me learn the language. This is the language that I'm learning right now, which is German. And, after I gather all of that information, I decide what I'm going to stick with and I make a time-based plan. So let's say that I'm learning German. In this case, I have a spreadsheet with everything below for different kinds of learners and different suggestions that I have. And of course, I have the plan that I'm following. So I make sure to make a plan for about, I don't know, from 6 to 10 weeks and try to learn as many words as possible and try to know as many concepts as I can, kind of immerse myself in the culture, get some music, get some other resources, and kind of start doing it that way. So when it comes to learning languages, I try to research that and of course then make sure that I make a plan that is time-based. Because if you make a plan that is just like, oh, I want to do this in like this year or a couple years, you're not really tightening and making sure that you're productive in the best way possible. So for me, I try to make the jump from one level to another. So for example, from, I believe, A1 to A2, I'm trying to make it as soon as I can, right? And that transition is going to take me maybe about 12 weeks or 16 weeks. I try to give myself some time and not to put a lot of pressure, because learning a language is difficult and acquiring new skills can be difficult. This can be translated to sports. This can be translated to learning a coding language or even, other skills that may be more manually kind of like focused, right? Or even operating a camera or learning how to do YouTube videos. This has been a journey for me, but I try to make sure that I have a time-based kind of concept in order to make that kind of transition, in order to understand that it's not going to be in 30 days or just a week. It's going to take time because I want to make sure that I'm going as deep as possible. Now, after you have made a kind of like research all of the resources, go to different web pages, and you have selected the ones that you want to use and you put them in a plan, after that, you try to make sure to stick with your plan. Now, the way I do it is I use a notebook that is kind of helpful for me, and I make sure to divide it into different parts. So for example, I make sure that I do a log. I'll be showcasing kind of like the spreadsheets and of course the notebook in which I use it. This is not the one, so I can't show you on this one, but I make sure to kind of like make a log, make sure that I have the dates, the days where I practice, the days where I didn't practice. I make sure to have all the words that I have learned and everything that is kind of new. And I make sure to add those words. So I have a spreadsheet for words. I have a spreadsheet for the dates that I have practiced and so on and so forth. You can see them in the links down below. I make sure to populate those. But after I have done that, it's kind of like following through, right? You're following through with the resources. You're making sure that you do a daily schedule. You're making sure that you're sticking to that. And after that, you have to revise. You have to revise and improve everything that you're doing. Maybe you find a different method, or maybe you come across a different resource. I make sure to try to learn languages kind of like for free or as free as possible, but I'm willing to invest on something that is quality. I personally don't invest in programs like Rosetta Stone or something like that. I don't think they're valuable enough for me to invest, and I find that there's other free resources that I can use. But if there is something that I truly feel and I feel like somebody recommends it to me, I make sure to invest in it because I think of it as an investment for myself and for my future and for the skills that I'm going to learn. So this kind of 4-step plan, I hope that kind of helps you understand how to make an effective plan for anything. It doesn't have to be learning a language, but it can be kind of like learning new skills, or maybe, kind of like talking with people or approaching difficult conversations. You research what you have to do. You make a plan with time-based stamps. And after that, you stick to it. You make sure that you're logging everything every day. You check whether you did it or not. And then you kind of revise and improvise and kind of like look at everything that you have to do once again. So I hope that this kind of helps you to understand a little bit more that it is not easy to acquire a new skill. It's not something that happens right away, but it's something that's going to take time and effort. And the more time you give yourself to learn something, the more specific your goals are, the better it's going to be for you and for the skills that you're trying to learn. And don't just do it halfway. Make sure that you go all the way. Make sure that you are doing a consistent effort and that you're not just saying like, oh, bonjour, right? So for example, I know how to say hello in French, or hello for German, which I'm learning right now. It's not just the little things that you're trying to learn, but you're trying to make sure that you acquire fluency, and you're trying to make sure that you acquire something that is a long-lasting skill. So make sure to hit the links down below. I have way more information there than in the video, but I hope that you find it helpful. And if you do, if you're new to the channel, here we talk about productivity, good habits, and how to restore balance within our lives. I hope this was helpful to you and that you stick around. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Probably is going to be a tech video. See ya.